February. I'm not going to lie, it's a little chilly out here. But this may be the hottest game this weekend. So much on the line. Number 2, Ohio State facing number 3, Michigan. Just the 6th time, by the way, in the big game's history that Ohio State and Michigan are both undefeated. Heading into this game, of course, determines a lot when it comes to the college football playoff. We're going to get you ready for that one and everything else happening on this fine Saturday morning. Welcome to Countdown to College Game Day, presented by Dr. Pepper. I'm Christine Williamson, Harry Lyles Jr. I mean, it is a little cold. Just a tad bit. This is our coldest game this season.
I don't know what you're talking about, Christine.
His brother ain't got no coat
good
on.
out here.
I just want to say the first time that I ever saw HD's electric gloves was actually in Ann Arbor, and they're back.
You still got the socks on too?
Oh yeah, I got the heated socks on as well, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready for the weather today. We're not gonna let the conditions bother what we have to do for y'all.
No, we feel really good. We feel really good. Now, we usually start every single show with something that we call 3 big things, but instead we're going to do something a little different because, as you know, Thursday was Thanksgiving. So we're going to do 3 thankful things that we're thankful for this college football Saturday. I'm going to let Harry Lyles start us off for this one.
Hey, I mean, look, we can't not start it off with Colorado Mania, right? I mean, those few weeks where everybody was bought in and some of y'all were so upset with how great Colorado was and how excited and everything. That's one for me, obviously. Last week, the JMU students, thank y'all for not dropping us, man. Even though I felt nothing but fear underneath me the entire time, and y'all did put me down pretty quick. Appreciate y'all not letting me and HD get hurt. And obviously, Jayden Daniels, man. I mean, putting up a historic season.
Yeah.
Every college football season's got a main character. He's one of them this year. Thankful for everything that he's continuing to do for this game because we love college football, and it is nothing without spectacular performances and athletes like that young man.
Yeah, those are pretty solid things. What do you got, HD?
Yeah, for number 1 for me, it's going to be University of Louisville head coach Jeff Brom. Thank you for going back to the University of Louisville. You are from there. You embody everything that the university and that football program stands for. Christine Williamson is rolling her eyes because Louisville beat Miami last week.
But that's it was a really good game.
Your big 3 is next. Okay, let me get done, Christine.
It was a good game.
You know, Louisville is doing so well right now. And I think second for me, I'm going to go with the wide receiver playing college football. You look at right here, the game today, we're going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. Troy Franklin had a good game last night. Luther Burton III had an amazing showing. Malik Neighbors. The wide receiver playing college football is unbelievable. And last but not least, it's rivalry week. It's rivalry week.
Yes.
So that means there's a lot on the line today at a lot of schools.
Yes.
That means that things are going to be amped up a little bit more. That means you may see some blows being thrown between opponents across college football today. And I'm so excited for rivalry week. I'm about to go back there with the people.
Oh my gosh, that made me really nervous. I didn't know what he was about to do.
Rivalry week, let's go, baby. Let's go. And just like that, I'm back, baby.
Good job, HD. Be careful. It's a little slippery. It is frosty out here. And we know what happened the last time it was frosty on the stairs.
In Montana, I fell. I fell down.
But you see the athleticism, though. 83 still got it.
Just making sure he's good. Okay, so it's now time for my big things. Now, I want to be clear. I was told we had 1 big thing each. They chose 3, so I put in mine late. The first one is the fact that Clemson and Miami football season is over.
Oh.
Okay? It has been rough for all of us. We really thought, listen, Tyler Van Dyke was supposed to be that guy.
And
Not only at UM, but in general. He's had a lot of injury issues, as we've seen throughout his entire career. It's been rough for Miami. Obviously, I don't want to talk about the coach. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything about Mario Cristobal. Shout out to him. And then Clemson looks nothing like Clemson football of old. It has been
technically
rough.
they kind of do.
Okay, of old. I'm talking about like the last, let's say 10 years.
You
it hasn't looked really good.
ACC championship bound Clemson.
Yeah.
Like Louisville is this year.
Yeah. Whatever. But it's one season, okay? HD, calm down. So yeah, that's what I'm thankful for. The season is over. We can just move on to next season when it comes to Clemson and Miami. I did have 2 other things that I want to be thankful for. First, Caleb Williams and the fact that, obviously you gave him his flowers last week, but I do want to say that we were so happy to watch him. I was a fan of him when he was at Oklahoma. Obviously, him and Lincoln Riley, when they went over to USC, I decided to cheer for them a little bit more. So very thankful for him. And also thankful for the fact that that Texas beat Alabama on September 9th because it just made the CFP landscape a little bit crazier. If they were to play today, they absolutely would not have won that game. So thank you for making it a little bit more chaos than it likely would have been later in the season.
I just want to point out, you love how Christine right there talking about, I was a fan of Caleb Williams when he was in Oklahoma. You sound like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole fans. I was doing his first mixtape.
Okay, so as you guys know, we got some college football earlier in the week on Thursday and Friday. We're going to take a look back and see what we saw, starting with Tulane, who punched their ticket to the American Conference Championship yesterday afternoon, beating UTSA 29-16 behind a career-high 166 yards from Mekhi Hughes. The Green Wave also forced 5 turnovers. HD, what did you see in this matchup?
Well, that was the main thing, that defense of Tulane being able to force 5 turnovers, but also being able to disrupt UTSA quarterback Frank Harris. He was all out of sync. He couldn't get things going yesterday for his football team. Tulane is heading to the championship game in their conference.
And very notable, you see that only loss to Ole Miss. Michael Pratt did not play in that football game. There's a very good chance this Tulane team would be undefeated had he been playing that day.
Good stuff there. Let's move on to the Big 12. Texas also lost in a conference championship appearance. They rolled Texas Tech 57-7. Jayden Blue had a 69-yard touchdown run, one of the 3 first half touchdowns for the Longhorns. And Kylan Robinson? Keelan, that's what I thought. Okay, Robinson started the second half with this kickoff return for a touchdown. Longhorns will play Oklahoma State if the Cowboys beat BYU today. They get a rematch versus the Sooners if the Cowboys lose.
You got to be happy with what you see out of Jayden Blue, especially with that Jonathan Brooks injury. I think a lot of us saw that. We're very concerned. Another concern you have to have, though, when you saw Xavier Worthy get hurt last night. HD, talk about all that great receiver play we've seen this season. He's obviously been one of the best. You got to hope if you're Texas that injury's not so serious.
Yeah, they really needed this kind of showing because of all the rumblings of how they did not play the last few weeks and let the opponent sneak around.
All right, that was a very fun way to end that highlight. All right, let's talk about my guy, Bo Nix, who made his case for the Heisman last night against number 16 Oregon State. 3 first half touchdowns, 1 rushing, 2 passing, including a wild crossbody throw to end the first half. The Ducks will face Washington next week in the Pac-12 championship. What did you see out of Bo?
Well, I seen Bo Nix putting up video-type game numbers last night, just like he's been doing the last 4 weeks. Also, you look at those 2 receivers, Tez Johnson, Troy Franklin, those guys had big games. That defense held Oregon State in their running game to 53 yards rushing. My goodness.
Also, let's give Troy Franklin some more love. When we talk about all these great receivers, like that young man has been on a tear, especially the last 4 weeks.
Let's talk about the Heisman a little bit because Jayden Daniels was the Heisman frontrunner last week before Bo Nix went off. What can Jayden Daniels do this week in order to get in front of Bo?
Well, this is his last opportunity. He doesn't have a championship game that he's going to be able to play in next week. So against Texas A&M, that game is on, I believe it's on ESPN or ABC. So he has an opportunity in front of the world while everyone is watching to really showcase his talents like he's been doing all year and put up huge numbers, not just throwing the football, but also rushing the football.
Yeah, I mean, look, it feels weird asking, like, what does he need to do? Like, what more can he do?
Yeah, he's done a lot.
I'm not going to lie. Like, she mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Like, we have had Heisman winners that played on teams with 2, 3, and 4 losses. You can't look at his numbers and tell me he doesn't deserve this award. And that has nothing to do with Bo Nix or anybody else that's on that list, because I think if you look at a lot of those guys, including Marvin Harrison, by the way, everybody is deserving, but you can't look at what he's done, not just this season, but also in his career, and tell me that he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with that Heisman race, but there's a lot at stake today here in Ann Arbor.
It's a game where it's winner take all. It is the game.
When you're a little kid, you dream of moments like this. 2 undefeated teams and the biggest rivalry in sports. You can't draw it up any better than that. It's exactly how I dreamed of it. Both teams undefeated. It's exactly how I wanted it to be.
This is the Big Ten Championship and the CFB game, really.
This game is one of the defining moments for a season. It defines the future of the program.
All of our guys, when they come here, they're here for one reason, to win that game.
You see it all around the building when you do today, beat Ohio State. If we don't win this game, the season doesn't matter.
We didn't get it done the past 2 years. We had to live with it 365 days, and now it's here, so we're ready.
For me, it's win or go home.
Hopefully we can end with a bang.
I like Blake Corum with the tape on his nose?
Yeah.
Remember when he got that?
Tough looking dude, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this matchup a little bit. It's not an exaggeration at all to say that this is the biggest game in this rivalry's history. For Michigan, a loss here throws fuel on the fire that the last 2 years and back-to-back wins over Ohio State were a result of in-person scouting. For Ohio State, the loss to Harbaugh's list. Michigan is going to have Buckeye fans crank up the heat on Ryan Day's hot seat. And oh, by the way, the winner goes to the Big Ten Championship, likely the CFP. HD, as a player, what do you think the challenge is dealing with all of that noise, and how successful can you be in blocking it out?
Well, here's what we got to understand about both of these football programs. There's always going to be noise because of how excellent their history is.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Michigan and you don't have your head coach and you're hearing rumblings about how things haven't looked since Jim Harbaugh hasn't been there, do you hear it? Yes, you do. But I think one of the things that we understand about this Michigan football team is that those guys are close-knit. Those guys internally, they're in unison with one another. You've seen when they found out on the airplane that their coach wasn't going to be there, all of them sent a tweet back. You see them all wearing the T-shirt. So everything that they do is in unison, so I'm not worried about them. Also, the only thing I would say I'm worried about is it being Thanksgiving week, right? And family in town and people throwing you off the routine. Now, as far as Ohio State, you have to understand that this could be your season. Yeah. Not just Ohio State, Michigan too, but Ohio State hasn't won this game the last 2 years.
Right.
And in the manner that they lost this football game, you got to feel some type of way if you're on that football team. So I think both of them are going to be able to handle the noise very well coming into this matchup because of the stakes and what's on the line.
Yeah. HG just mentioned what's on the line. Obviously, we know number 2 versus number 3. So both of these teams obviously have CFP hopes. Who do you think has the most pressure going into this matchup?
Tell you what, I got the most pressure. This sun coming over this building. I'm about to be squinting the rest of the show. But no, honestly,
so what you saying? You have that glow up. You got that glow.
You know, some of us got that. You know what I mean? But no, look. In all seriousness, I do think it's Michigan because all year, right? We've heard nothing but your schedule's easy. You know, right? Like beating up on these teams. Like, how good are you actually? And then you've got the cheating scandal. And I'm not talking Atlanta Public Schools, HD. I'm talking about Connor Stallings. I ain't talking about a horse. All right. So, look, I think if you're Michigan, you're going up against your biggest rival. This is the last time that this game is going to have these stakes because of the 12-team playoff. You have an opportunity now. This is the first step. Ever since Georgia, at the end of that first quarter last year when we were in Los Angeles and they stopped out TCU and had that game over, we have been looking at this Michigan team ever since then and said, this is the best chance for somebody to knock off Georgia because of their offense, because of their running game, and because of their defense. This is the first step in trying to accomplish that. If you're Michigan, you are not going to have a better opportunity than this year to get this done. And I think Jim Harbaugh and this Michigan team want to do that.
You talked about how this season will never look the same when we're going to the 12-team playoff. It will also not look the same in the Pac-12 conference because that thing will be completely destroyed. There's a lot at stake out there as well.
The Apple Cup, bragging rights are at stake and anything can happen.
We've been playing for over 100 years.
So much history and tradition.
Now he goes deep, caught, touchdown!
The Cougars win the Apple Cup.
Touchdown! The Washington Huskies have stolen the Apple Cup.
This one definitely is a little bit more special. It's a little bit more meaningful.
We're playing for the Apple Cup. That means something to every person that wears the Coug.
Our team wants to have bragging rights. Our fan want to have bragging rights.
I ain't never lost no Coug.
We know the rivalry. We know what happens with the win.
It's a big game for us. I mean, they're our little brother.
Everything's on the line for this game.
It hurts even the thought of losing to them.
You can either fall short of it or you can rise to the occasion.
We're going to go out there and do what needs to be done and finish off the season right, 12-0.
We're going to surprise them dogs.
They know what time it is.
All right, let's take a look at some of the other matchups that are happening today. Washington State at Washington. Obviously, a lot at stake when it comes to this one. The Huskies looking for their second undefeated regular season in school history. They've won 8 of the last 9 in the Apple Cup, Lyles.
Yeah, look, you want to hope, right, that in one of these kinds of games, especially with Washington State and going away from the Pac-12, things like that, that they're going to bring their A game against Washington. It's just hard for me to see it today, man. Like, I know that they blew out Colorado last week, but they lost 6 in a row. I think they're much closer to that team than the one that we saw last week. I think Washington wins big in this one.
All right, let's talk about another Pac-12 matchup happening. Arizona at Arizona State. They're taking on the Wildcats. Pac-12 title hopes were dashed after Oregon's win last night, but they've had a good season, HD.
I got to give a shout out to their head coach, Jed Fish, and what he's been able to do with that Arizona program. The 3 losses that they have this season came to Mississippi State in overtime, USC in 3 overtimes, and also Washington, they only lost by 7 points. I really like what this football team is. I like what this program is right now, and they have an opportunity today to cap things off with the win versus their in-state rival, Arizona State.
All right, let's talk about a team that has some CFP hopes, depending on whether or not things get a little chaotic at the top. That is Alabama at Auburn. 10-year anniversary of the Kick 6. Wow, that was 10 years ago. I'm old. Auburn is going to need that kind of magic and more today against Alabama.
Look, man, it ain't happening for Auburn today. I understand in these rivalry games, especially this one, right? Sometimes you could drop everything that's going to happen. I just don't see it for Auburn in this one. I know that they've had some ups and downs this season. Jalen Milroe, though, has been hot. 13 touchdowns the last 3 games. This Alabama team has come a very, very long way. I think that they have a big game today, and we have an even bigger matchup next week with Alabama against Georgia.
Yeah, we all want a little bit of chaos there at the top. It would be fun to see Alabama make it into the CFP, so we'll see what happens. Let's talk about some other matchups that are happening. These ones a little bit bigger, so we'll spend a little bit more time on these ones. It's rivalry week, as HD mentioned. Since 2000, this rivalry is even at 11 wins apiece, but unranked teams are just 1-12 versus top 10 teams. So we're talking Florida State at Florida. No Jordan Travis from Florida State out for the season. HD, how does his absence change this game?
Now, it's going to be huge because what Jordan Travis means to that football team, not just on the field, but off the field and his leadership. He was playing at a high level. He really led this football team to an undefeated record right now. But for Tate Rodemaker, he's a guy that actually came into the game last year versus the University of Louisville and threw 2 touchdown passes. He did a great job with the RPO game, run pass options. So I think they're going to be okay. That's why you have a Trey Benson. Yep. That's why you also have, Johnny Wilson and Jaheim Bell and Keon Coleman. So he doesn't have to go out there and try to be Superman. So I think Florida State's going to be okay today.
Graham Burke's out in that one too.
Yeah.
Max Brown started for Florida.
Yeah, it'll be a really good game. That one at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Let's talk about your team, because they're taking on Kentucky. Kentucky at Louisville.
Give me that one more time. I'm sorry.
Kentucky at Louisville. I feel like you have to say it like you got some cotton in your mouth. Louisville has already locked up an appearance in the ACC Championship, which you talked about a little bit later next week against Florida State. Kentucky has won the last 4. HG, what do you think is at stake in this matchup?
Well, it's a lot. The Governor's Cup, right? I've been a part of this rivalry for every year that I was at the University of Louisville. And trust me, the hate is there from top to bottom. Now, for Louisville and their defense, they're going to have to be able to stop the run. If they can't stop the run, it's going to be a long day. If they're able to do that, also, you look at the offensive side for Louisville, if they're able to rush the football effectively, they're going to be able to come out with that victory. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this game starts at 12 noon. And I understand that we're here at Michigan and Ohio State, but I'm going to be tuned into this one as well because Jeff Brom has been that guy for us, and I'm excited beyond measures, Christine. I'm a little emotional right now because, I used to get into little brawls at midfield during this game, so I'm ready. I'm ready for this one. It's rivalry week.
I was going to say, it hits different, doesn't it?
It so does.
And that Louisville rushing game, though, we talked about that earlier. It's different now because Jawar Jordan's one thing. Isaac Guerrero has really come along the last few weeks. So not only they're staying fresh, basically. Yeah. Like Kentucky, you got to bring your A game today.
Yeah, for sure. Louisville hoping to go 11-1 for the first time since 2013. All right, it's time now for the Fansville Advantage presented by Dr. Pepper. We're going to look ahead to next week. Okay, guys, regardless of what happens in the Iron Bowl, Alabama has already locked up a spot in the SEC championship game. Of course, they're playing Georgia. Both of these teams have looked better as the season has gone on. HG, the game is in ATL. Any kind of home game advantage in that one for the Dogs?
It's going to always be an advantage for the University of Georgia. One thing I can say about both of those universities, they are accustomed to playing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Yeah. So it's kind of like a home game for both, but I would lean more towards the University of Georgia. They don't have to go far and travel right there to watch their team play. I'm ready for that showdown because those two teams have been prestige. When you talk about excellence of college football. University of Georgia, University of Alabama, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban. Can't wait for that showdown.
Okay, so we're talking a lot about this matchup and how it has CFP implications, but what happens if Georgia loses the SEC championship?
Ooh, hey, I mean, if it's Georgia, if it's Alabama, well, obviously it means more for Georgia. I don't buy this idea that they can be comfortable because of what's behind them, right? Like, we look at these other three teams, whether it's Texas, whether it's Alabama, whether it's Oregon, and how deserving they are right now as possibly one of the 4 best teams in the country. So if Georgia loses this one, you got to lose it close. And if they don't, I would be extremely concerned, even though they are the 2-time defending champions. I don't know how much benefit of the doubt the committee's going to be able to give you this year.
I mean, the All-State playoff predictor right now says the Big Ten champion has a 99.9% chance to make the CFP.
I hope so.
It'll be very interesting to see how the rest of that plays out.
Are you cheesy?
I am cheesy.
How cheesy?
Super cheesy.
How much do you love Cheez-Its?
I love cheesy.
How much?
I love Cheez-Its. I love it.
Are y'all feeling the Cheez-Its?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Sorry, Mom.
How much? How much again? That's what I'm talking about, baby. It is now time to honor the fan filling the cheesiest with the cheesiest chain, reserved for college football most passionate fans, the ones that show up on Saturdays filling the cheesiest. I am here with Rashad. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. I'm ready for this game. We hype. We ready? You ready? Let's go. Yeah, we ready.
All right, so what are the Michigan Wolverines going to do to the Ohio State Buckeyes today, in your opinion?
We are going to beat something out of them. We're gonna win. We're gonna go out there. Yeah, we ready.
Are you feeling the cheesiest?
I'm feeling cheesy today.
Do you have the cheesiest chain?
I got the cheesiest chain.
Okay, sounds like a plan to me. You got a replica chain just like mine, man.
Of course.
Thank you for being the cheesiest fan. Thank all of your friends for showing up and showing out.
Yeah.
One thing I do know is that I smell a lot of booze, so that means they're ready.
Yeah.
Christine,
we ready. We ready. We ready. Cheese.
What a time. Wasn't that a lot of fun? Exactly. He said he smelled a lot of booze, too, so we already know what they've been doing all night long. We welcome in Stanford Steve. With that, okay, Steve, there's a lot on the line, obviously, in this matchup. We already know, number 2 versus number 3. Ohio State, Michigan, it's rivalry week. But both of these teams hoping to make a playoff run, right? So when you look at this matchup, who do you think has the most pressure, and how do those teams handle the pressure?
Well, we've grown so accustomed to Ohio State being the favorite. I think it's flipped. I think it's all on Michigan now. You talk about the off-the-field stuff, what that attention has brought in. The average fan now, are they the good guy or the bad guy? Coach Harbaugh trying to turn it, saying they're America's team. You know, but Michigan is as faithful a fan base as it's been. This ride has been incredible. But the last time we saw them on this stage with this amount of just championship quality on the line, J.J. McCarthy did not play well against TCU. And I think they've been building. Ryan Day talks about we work all year for this game. Michigan's still in that back of their mind. They got to have a bad taste in their mouth looking at what happened in that game against TCU. And now you see you're finally here. I can't imagine how long this has been for Ohio State. But I think as far as pressure goes, it's more on Michigan.
So what do you want to see out of J.J. McCarthy today? What do you expect out of J.J. McCarthy today?
First off, I just want to see that he's 100%. He don't look 100% to me the last 2 weeks. And then, you know, it's amazing how our favorite word, the narrative, changes, right? Oh, Michigan just pounded Penn State in the second half. They didn't throw the ball. Maybe they couldn't because their quarterback was hurt. And then last week, he was just very skittish. And then I thought, you know, with his throws, inconsistent where he wasn't all year. And then you see the tackle go down. They got to shift guys on the offensive line, and that's when Maryland started getting to him, and he was not the same player he was earlier. So I just want to see if he's 100%. Wilson, I think, is a monster key to make sure he's back 100% because we've seen the success that they have had throwing the ball. But I just think McCarthy, if he knows he's right, he's got his offensive line in front of him, I think that's where we're going to see a confidence, and you'll see that early.
So, Steve, last week I was actually at that Michigan and Maryland game on the sidelines watching J.J. McCarthy. And you're right, it didn't look right. Interception before a halftime very inexcusable. A couple passes in that game as well. But you notice Jim Harbaugh is not on the sidelines. Jim Harbaugh is a former quarterback, played at the highest level. J.J. McCarthy is a quarterback. So those two guys can speak the same language. How much would you contest that to Harbaugh not being there on the sidelines with J.J. McCarthy?
Well, Dez has talked about it all year. You know, the first 3 games, it's a big thing. And once you start getting into conference play, then he comes back. Now they start scoring more points. There's a connection that he has. He recruited him. Like you said, he played at the highest level. He knows what JJ's seeing on the field. And it's just like having that father figure on the field, and then you don't have him. But now we're in a state where they're in more games where he's not there than he's there. So it's a weird dynamic. I'm sure they had extra conversations this week when Coach Harbaugh was able to be at practice and things like that. So, hey, man, like, listen. The last thing anyone wants to hear that's not rooting for Michigan is Michigan to have excuses.
Right, yeah.
Like, there's no excuses, man. It's put up or shut up right now.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to these matchups today. Former wide receiver, DB wide receiver matchup. You look at Marvin Harrison Jr., you look at Will Johnson. You look at Emeka Ibuka in the slot, Mike Sarastow, the way he's been able to play. Came up with 2 huge interceptions last week. What do you think about those 2 matchups when it comes to DB and wide receivers?
Well, I look. Wilson got beat last week. You know, against Maryland for a touchdown. You don't see that. I think he's only given up like 8 passes caught on him in 8 over 40 yards the whole year, or 8 over 20 yards the whole year. Listen, I think Marvin's that good. He's going to get his. The question is, if he has a performance like he did against Penn State, give him the Heisman Trophy. And Ohio State wins this game, give him the Heisman Trophy. He's the best player in the sport. And then I'm really curious to see how Ryan Day, I think the world of him. I think he's a top 3 play caller in the sport. How creative can he be with Ibuka and Marvin just to get them? Not deep throws, short throws. Get them in space. We've seen Marvin get some reverses in the red zone. Just extra touches to get your best player of the football. That's what I think it comes down to if they can confuse Michigan.
Do you think both these teams make the CFP?
No.
Okay.
This is it.
A lot on the line
tonight.
Yeah. All right,
Loser
Steve,
out.
thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Stay warm.
Oh, this is perfect. Sun's coming out. We're good. No win. We can't have any win. As long as there's no win, we're good. That's right.
All right, let's take a look at some other matchups that we're looking forward to today, starting with Texas A&M taking on LSU. Jayden Daniels currently is 2nd in Heisman race, according to ESPN Bet, after Bo Nix's game last night. This is the last chance for him to make his case, HD. Do you agree with that?
No, 100%. And I think he's going to come out and perform at a very, very high level. Now, you look at Texas A&M. They fired their coach 2 weeks ago. Right, and they was able to get a victory last week. So they're not just going to let Jayden Daniels come out there and have Heisman moments on them. But I think Jayden Daniels is going to be able to show up and show out. And I'll be honest with you, I'm rooting for the young man.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
All right, let's talk Clemson at South Carolina. I've been to this matchup. It's a huge deal. It's 120th meeting. 120 meetings at the Palmetto Bowl. Tigers riding a 3-game win streak since Tyler from Spartanburg's call. Lyles, keep talking. Say something about this matchup.
No, all right, so look, all jokes aside, when Dabo said y'all needed to buy into some Clemson stock, he was not wrong. This team has turned it around after that very embarrassing loss. We were all getting on him. However, I still feel like this South Carolina team, you see the record 5-6, they've got something to play for. They're going to fight for bowl eligibility. Shane Beamer always has his guys ready, always finds a way to get them motivated. But I think Clay Klubnik will find a way to do just enough, Christine. And I'm not just saying that to make you happy. I do think Clemson will win this football game, but it'll be a good one.
All right, let's talk Oklahoma State at BYU, 3:30 p.m. on ABC. Cowboys can clinch a spot in the Big 12 title game with a win today. HC, what are you looking at in this one?
I'm looking at Ollie Gordon, right? Tied first right now in college football in rushing yards. This Oklahoma State team, led by Mike Gundy, they have an opportunity to play for the Big 12 championship game with a victory. Looking forward to seeing this matchup today and seeing what Ollie Gordon can do, rushing the football and scoring touchdowns for his football team.
Especially against that BYU defense.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's go over to the ACC. North Carolina at NC State. Yes. Potentially the final game, by the way, for Drake May. Both teams are 8-3 with the Tar Heels around a 3-point fave in this one. Lyles, what are you looking at?
Yeah, Drake May, better enjoy this, man, because it's going to be tough sledding in Chicago next year, buddy. But no, look, NC State at home, I like this. Hey, and we saw when we were at NC State, or well, I guess we were technically due, but we went to the Louisville NC State game.
Yeah.
Peyton Wilson's going to make it a tough day for that young man. He is one of the best pass rushers in college football. I think Drake May will get his, but it's going to be a competitive one.
Drake May was the first college football player to say, "Call me ma'am." I was like, I'm not that old, sir.
You might be.
Third-ranked Wolverines against the #2 Buckeyes.
These teams match up really well. They're built to beat each other.
They have weapons all across the board. That's what Ohio State's offense is known for.
They're able to run the football and pass the football at a high level. It's definitely nice to see us clicking on all cylinders going into this game.
Travion Henderson, when he gets an open field, not too many guys can stop him.
He's a dynamic playmaker, right back. He's able to make big plays in big moments.
He's got it! Marvin Harrison Jr. is magical!
Just having a guy like that on your side, it's a little unfair at times. You just put in his area code and he'll go and make a play.
It's going to be a great challenge for his defense to go against an offense that creates explosive plays.
Bounces outside and nothing but green grass. Touchdown, Blake Corum!
They come in and looking to run the football. You know, Corum is a really good back. The numbers speak for themselves.
Adding that extra motivation to this game. It's going to be different, Blake, out there.
We smash. We don't mind hitting people in the mouth. We're very versatile, and we have explosive players on our team.
McCarthy launches. Touchdown! That is a bullseye.
The quarterback is very creative and can make plays happen out of nothing. I think for our success, we just have to do our best to contain him.
You never know where we're going to attack.
Whether it's me running the ball or throwing the ball, we're going to do anything and everything to win this football game.
We already know there's a lot at stake here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I've said it 18 times this show. #2 taking on #3. Both of these teams hoping to make it to this college football playoff. And our producer, Chris Cologne, really wants a dub here in Ann Arbor for his Michigan Wolverines. We'll see if that happens.
You know, they built the big house.
We're going to do some
the
game
Cologne
picks.
Dome.
Yeah, this is the Cologne Dome. Our producer,
he's
known here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. But let's go ahead and make these picks.
Yeah, let's do some game picks.
Let me tell
Lyles, who do you have in this matchup? You want to go first, HC? Okay,
Look,
you go first.
I've been
who
saying
goes
it
first?
since the end of last year. I think Michigan, this is their year at least to continue to beat Ohio State. I don't know about it when they perhaps play Georgia National Championship, but let me get this back here, my man. I'm going with Michigan. I don't necessarily believe they're America's team. Y'all are kind of nuts for that, but I'm going with Michigan today.
Y'all see who I'm going with. I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines.
You going? I think you're a smart man.
I'm going Michigan myself, y'all.
Smart man.
All right, there's a sign over there that says if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I'm going with Michigan as well. I mean, hello. That makes sense, right? Yeah, that one right there. Let's see what the fans chose. The fans chose. Okay.
Wow.
Whatever. 63% of the fans. 63% of the fans chose Ohio State. So we'll see what happens in that matchup that's happening at noon today.
Yes.
Don't miss all the college football, and we'll see you guys next week. Conference Championship week. So much on the line in general. Thank you guys for watching Countdown to College Game Day presented by Dr. Pepper. We'll see you when we see you.